Now this is crazy. Why was the Book of Enoch removed from the Bible?
This is a part of these biblical stories of angels and devils. That's what they're really talking about. They're talking about these interdimensional beings.
A storm is brewing in the halls of the Vatican. The Book of Enoch, an ancient text shrouded in mystery, has been sealed off. After AI claims to have uncovered its true meaning. Its pages, recently discussed on the Joe Rogan Experience, tell of fallen angels, giants, forbidden knowledge, and visions of the apocalypse. Why is the church so desperate to bury it? What secrets did AI reveal that could shake our understanding of history and faith? Join us as we reveal the terrifying knowledge in the Book of Enoch, and why the Catholic Church shut it down. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a revelation. The Book of Enoch. The Book of Enoch is an ancient Jewish work that was once highly regarded by certain groups and later rejected or ignored by the mainstream Jewish and Christian traditions. Though not part of the official Hebrew Bible or most Christian canons today, it continues to draw attention from historians, theologians, and anyone interested in biblical mysteries. Scholars date different parts of the manuscript to various times from about 300 BC to 100 BC, suggesting that it emerged in a complex period when many diverse religious ideas were shared and recorded. This timeline puts it close to other key writings that were circulating among Jewish communities in the centuries before and after the dawn of the Common Era. The text is preserved most fully in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which keeps the Book of Enoch in its scriptural collection. This acceptance means that while most Western Christian denominations and Jewish communities do not treat it as canonical, it remains officially recognized by one of the oldest Christian churches in the world. In this Ethiopian context, the book is sometimes referred to as 1 Enoch, to distinguish it from later related writings. Historically, the Book of Enoch has sparked debates over its origins and legitimacy. Early references to it appear in the writings of church fathers like Tertullian and Clement of Alexandria, who sometimes quoted or respected it. Among the Dead Sea Scrolls found at Qumran, fragments of the Book of Enoch were discovered in Aramaic, confirming that it was available and possibly well studied in certain Jewish groups around the late Second Temple period. The text revolves around visions and teachings attributed to Enoch, a biblical figure who appears in the book of Genesis. Enoch is said to have lived 365 years, which is significantly shorter than most of the other patriarchs listed in Genesis. Additionally, the Bible states that Enoch walked with God and was taken by God instead of facing death. This small reference in Genesis opened the door to many traditions that expanded on his life, his relationship with the divine, and his fate. It was natural for later writers to speculate about Enoch's unique place among biblical figures, and the Book of Enoch is one major outcome of that speculation. Because many parts of ancient Jewish literature were written to explain mysteries not addressed in the Torah or the prophets, it is not surprising that Enoch's unusual story inspired further writing. During the centuries before Jesus' time, Jewish groups produced various texts, often labeled as apocryphal or pseudepigraphal, which answered questions that the official scriptures did not. The Book of Enoch belongs to this broad category. It attempts to fill gaps, especially about angels, the nature of the universe, and the end of days. Over time, the Book of Enoch was sidelined by mainstream authorities. Some have argued that this was due to its striking claims about fallen angels, the birth of giants known as Nephilim, and the possibility of advanced knowledge passed down to humanity. Others point to its references that sound too much like descriptions of the coming of a Messiah, soon to be identified with Jesus Christ by early Christians. These factors made it controversial in both rabbinic Judaism and many Christian circles. Yet, it survived in Ethiopia, where it remains a living text. Enoch in biblical genealogy. Enoch appears in the Hebrew Bible as part of the genealogy tracing back to Adam, the very first man. According to Genesis, he is a great-grandfather of Noah, connecting him directly to the story of the flood. This genealogy is detailed in Genesis 5, which lists the patriarchs from Adam down to Noah. Most of these figures are described as living for many centuries, but Enoch is unique. He lived 365 years. And then he was not, for God took him. That phrase, God took him, has puzzled readers and scholars for centuries. Unlike other patriarchs who simply die, Enoch's story is exceptional. This has led to the idea that he might have been carried to heaven without experiencing normal death. In the New Testament, Hebrews 11:5 refers to Enoch not seeing death because of his faith. This brief statement sparked centuries of speculation, inspiring the narratives later found in the Book of Enoch. Jewish traditions and folklore often expand on biblical figures with only brief mentions. In Enoch's case, the sparse details left enough room for rich stories and elaborate myths to develop. Later interpretations claim that Enoch was shown the secrets of creation, the structure of the universe, and the workings of the heavens, which he recorded for future generations. Some traditions even link Enoch to Melchizedek, the mysterious priest-king mentioned in Genesis near Abraham's time. Melchizedek is described as a priest of God Most High, appearing suddenly without any family background, which made him a figure of fascination. While not universally accepted, the identification of Enoch with Melchizedek fits into a broader tradition connecting ancient figures who had extraordinary relationships with God and humanity. In various apocryphal and pseudepigraphal texts, Enoch is portrayed as sharing wisdom with his descendants, often covering moral, spiritual, and cosmic subjects. He is depicted as a righteous man standing out in a corrupt world, especially in the generations before the flood. When we consider that Enoch supposedly avoided normal death, it becomes clear why stories of his journeys to heavenly realms became so widespread in ancient religious literature. The Book of Enoch builds on this foundation, describing his encounters with divine beings, warnings to fallen angels, and his role in revealing hidden knowledge to humanity. Although he does not appear in the Hebrew Bible beyond genealogical mentions, Enoch remains widely known because of the mystery surrounding his disappearance and the many legends built around him. Medieval Jewish mystics, particularly those in the Merkava tradition, sometimes portrayed Enoch as a heavenly scribe or angelic figure. The idea that Enoch transformed into an angel after being taken by God is reflected in parts of the Book of Enoch, where he assumes a role far beyond that of an ordinary human prophet or sage. The Watchers: origins, motives, and impact. A major theme in the Book of Enoch is the story of the angels known as the Watchers, who were meant to watch over humanity, but instead fell into corruption. Numbering 200, these Watchers descended to earth during the days of Jared, Enoch's father, and swore an oath to carry out their plans. Samyaza is named as their leader in most versions of the text, worried that if he alone breaks divine law, he will bear all the guilt. Yet the other angels join him, pledging together to commit the same act. Their transgression involves taking human wives and teaching forbidden knowledge to humanity. A brief mention of this appears in Genesis 6:1-4, where the sons of God see that human women are beautiful, take them as wives, and produce hybrid offspring called the Nephilim. In the Book of Enoch, these Nephilim are described as violent giants who ravage the earth, consuming its resources and turning to cannibalism and other forms of corruption. One Watcher, Azazel, instructs humans in metalworking, weapon-making, cosmetics, and other arts that lead to vanity and violence. Others teach enchantments, astrology, knowledge of clouds, or the workings of the constellations. According to the Book of Enoch, this sudden surge of forbidden knowledge moves humans away from natural reverence for God, steering them instead toward pride, warfare, and sin. The presence of these fallen angels and their giant offspring becomes a key reason for the Great Flood. In Enoch's story, the archangels Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel appeal to God to act against the Watchers and their children. God sends Uriel to warn Noah of the coming flood, teaching him how to survive. Raphael is commanded to bind Azazel, while Michael punishes the remaining Watchers. This explains how order is restored and why only Noah's righteous line endures. The story frames the biblical flood not just as a moral cleansing, but also as a response to corruption, partially caused by angelic beings introducing forbidden knowledge. For readers, this dramatic account expands upon the brief mention in Genesis 6 and gives Enoch a central role. He serves as a witness and messenger, pleading with God for mercy, even as the Nephilim and the Watchers ultimately face divine judgment. The Book of the Watchers. The Book of the Watchers is usually seen as the earliest and perhaps the most influential part of 1 Enoch. It begins with an announcement of judgment against the angels who fell and also acts as a warning to humanity. Enoch is presented as a righteous man whose eyes are opened by God, allowing him to see the visions of heaven. He witnesses the spiritual realms and learns about everything from the origins of the angels to the destiny of the righteous. One point that stands out is that this section frames Enoch as a mediator. He is told about the upcoming punishment of the Watchers, but then also asked by the Watchers themselves to plead their case before God. In some versions, he carries the Watchers' petition to the divine throne, though their request for forgiveness is denied. This part of the text stresses the gravity of cosmic order. Angels have a set role, and crossing lines between the divine and human spheres leads to dire consequences. The Book of the Watchers also describes how Enoch travels through various parts of creation. He visits different layers of heaven, or different mystical locations, such as places where the spirits of the dead wait for judgment and where the angels who sinned are bound. These descriptions offer an early example of Jewish apocalyptic literature, in which a visionary is taken through heavenly realities to learn secrets about the future or the moral structure of the universe. This section heavily features the theme of a coming end. It explains that someday God will come with his holy armies to judge all beings. This was a powerful message to people living in uncertain times, reminding them that all earthly power has to reckon with a higher authority. The Book of the Watchers also reminds its readers that while angels are mighty, they are not above divine law, and that humanity too will be held accountable for how it responds to given knowledge. In exploring Enoch's role, we see him as more than an observer. He becomes a channel for wisdom that explains both the reason for the Great Flood and God's unwavering moral code. At the same time, by providing more details about the sons of God mentioned briefly in Genesis, it tries to answer the question of why the world was so morally destroyed before Noah's day. The Book of Parables. The Book of Parables, chapters 37 to 71, moves the focus from the Watchers to broader themes like judgment, messianic hope, and the end of days. It introduces a figure called the Son of Man, the Chosen One, and the Righteous One, who sits on a throne of glory. Many scholars notice connections here with later ideas about the Messiah that appear in Christian writings. In these chapters, Enoch continues to receive visions, but now they show the destinies of rulers, sinners, and the final judgment of the entire world. Some view this text as a later development, expanding on the story first told in the Book of the Watchers. While the Watchers focus on angelic corruption and their offspring, the Book of Parables broadens the idea of divine justice to include human rulers and corrupt governments. The term Son of Man is especially important. In the Hebrew Bible, it often simply means human being. But in these chapters of 1 Enoch, it seems to mark a special figure chosen to judge the world with fairness. In the New Testament, Son of Man frequently refers to Jesus, particularly in the Gospels. This has led some to suggest that early Christian writers may have been influenced by the Book of Parables and borrowed some of its language. However, the Book of Parables does not appear among the Qumran fragments, raising questions about its exact date. It might have been written after the other sections of 1 Enoch were already known. Still, it provides a fascinating glimpse into Jewish ideas about heavenly mediators and end-time events. It depicts a world where the righteous are rewarded, the wicked face divine punishment, and oppressive rulers cannot escape their fate. This detailed vision of the end reflects the religious atmosphere of the Second Temple period, when Jewish communities faced political unrest, foreign rule, and questions about the timing of divine justice. These chapters also introduce more angels, some of whom guide Enoch through his visions. Enoch experiences multiple levels of reality, seeing how human actions on earth link to consequences in heaven. The Book of Parables is therefore a central work of ancient Jewish apocalyptic literature, comparable to texts like the Book of Daniel. Its style and themes have led many to compare it with other writings that explore the final fate of the world and the coming of a special judgment. Views of early church fathers. When Christianity began spreading in the first few centuries AD, early church leaders had mixed opinions about the Book of Enoch. Some respected it, while others dismissed it. Notable figures who showed interest included Justin Martyr, Athenagoras of Athens, Irenaeus, Clement of Alexandria, Origen, Tertullian, and Lactantius. They sometimes referenced Enoch's writings when discussing angels, demons, or the cosmic order. Tertullian even went so far as to call the Book of Enoch scripture, arguing that the Jews had rejected it because it contained prophecies about Christ. Over time, however, the Book of Enoch did not become part of the Christian New Testament, nor was it accepted into the Jewish canon. One reason is that it was not originally written in Hebrew. Some sections were in Aramaic. It was also linked to groups or ideas that the mainstream might have considered marginal or even heretical. Its vivid descriptions of angels, giants, and heavenly mysteries may have seemed too speculative, especially as Christian theology became more organized. Still, many scholars believe its themes influenced parts of the New Testament. For example, the Epistle of Jude quotes a prophecy resembling 1 Enoch 1:9, which speaks of God coming with 10,000s of his holy ones. This suggests that some early Christians knew Enoch's writings and valued them. In North Africa, Tertullian's support was especially notable, as he defended the Book of Enoch against critics and pointed to Jude's citation as proof of its significance. Nevertheless, other church leaders eventually decided that Enoch's visions should not be included in the canon. Part of the controversy may have stemmed from Enoch's ideas that blurred lines between angels and humans, a topic that emerging orthodoxy found tricky. References to the Watchers could also conflict with official teachings on spiritual beings and salvation. Despite these debates, Enochic themes persisted, appearing in medieval literature, folklore, and mystical traditions. The full text survived mainly in Ethiopia, preserved over centuries in the Ge'ez language. When Ethiopian manuscripts of 1 Enoch reached European scholars in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, it caused excitement. Until then, most had only known about Enoch through scattered Greek or Latin fragments or brief references in older works. Discovering a complete version renewed scholarly interest and led to translations into modern languages. Thanks for watching another episode. While you're still here, make sure to click the video on your screen for more quality content.